This is the Regained Wellness Podcast with Jamie Logie, episode 131, Training for Wonder Woman with Andrea Vasiliou. Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jamie Logie. I run regainedwellness.com, and this is the Regained Wellness Podcast. And thank you for joining me here today. Got a very cool episode today. They're all cool. This one's just extra cool. So just to get out of the way first, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get podcasts. I should be there, whether it's Stitch Radio, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, all those different, wherever you get a podcast, it should be there. So make sure you subscribe, and then that way you get the shows automatically sent to you each week. No fuss, no muss. So right now it's mid-October when I'm recording this, and coming out of the summer, obviously that's the blockbuster movie season. It's when all the big stuff comes out, and I'm usually away and busy in the summer, but was able to see quite a bit this year. And just thinking back, like Spider-Man I thought was really cool. I'm a big Planet of the Apes fan, so that was I thought was great. I loved Dunkirk. Oh, that's a Christopher Nolan movie. That'll all tie in together. You'll realize when you listen more into this interview. But the movie that I think took the cake, not just commercially but critically, was Wonder Woman, directed by Patty Jenkins, starring Gal Gadot. That movie just, I think, was the focal point of the whole movie season this year, and how big that thing's gotten. The success of it, and then kind of transitioning into Justice League, which will be, I think we'll kind of ride that wave into the end of the year movie season. And my guest today is a real live Amazonian warrior from Wonder Woman, Andrea Vasiliou. And I've known Andrea for a little while now. Her and I couldn't figure out exactly when we met. It was around 2009, maybe 2010 in Australia. I'd lived there for a little while, and then before I left, I traveled up the East Coast, and that's a big kind of popular travelers network. And I met her, and I can't remember where it was. It might have been Fraser Island or Magnetic Island. I honestly can't remember, but there's a kind of like big crews of people that travel up and down the coast there, and some go ahead, some stay behind. They you go at your different pace, and then so met her, and then met up again in, I want to say, in Cairns, which is a little more north. And that's kind of like the end of the traveler circuit, and then everyone sort of goes their separate ways, but kept in touch with her over the years. And it's been really cool to see her progression in stuff she's been doing as far as, acting and modeling and different campaign things she's done. And then this sort of progression into Wonder Woman, which is really cool. And, she looks a lot like Gal Gadot as well, too. And, was one of these 18 or 20 different girls that were the Amazonians that, if you've seen the movie, they were in the first part on the island, and you can see them all like training, and then there's the fight and battle scenes, and you see quite a bit of her in the actual movie, which is really cool. So I thought it'd be interesting to have her to come on to talk about that whole process, because just the casting process alone was pretty intense into the 6 months of physical training these girls did, which was beyond intense. Like, this is tougher than, like I said, like professional athletes' training seasons, what they had to do to get in shape and prepared for all the, not just how they looked like warriors, but for all the physicality and the battle scenes that happen in the movie. So 6 months of training, and then talking about the actual filming process. So it's really cool to hear her story and her journey of, not just this movie, but her approach to fitness, and how she trained for it, nutrition, how that all came together, and then along with her insights into just what it takes to be fit and what it takes to be healthy, and listening to your body and pushing yourself and understanding nutrition. And so really interesting from all these different aspects, from the movie making, training and process, to her own approach to fitness and everything like that. So a really amazing guest to have on, and a lot of insights you can, learn and take away from this, as well as just, the mindset that goes in behind these, massive undertakings in these movies that require so much discipline and effort and endurance and everything like that. So if you want to see the show notes today, which is where I'll have, some of the different info on, like, where you want, if you want to follow Andrea, whether it's social media or whatnot. I'll also put some of the training videos they had that have been up on YouTube of the girls doing their training for Wonder Woman, like awesome stuff and super intense. And I'll link that all up. So that's on the show notes, which is regainedwellness.com/131. So that's all those, links and videos sort of in one place if you want to see them doing their thing. Okay, that's more than enough out of me. Let's get right to it with Andrea Vasiliou. London, I lived all over the place, but like Notting Hills, like we'd always hang out there on the weekend. That's a great spot.
Yeah, it's a good one for like brunch because there's just so many nice spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I was just wondering, for people listening, what's your background as far as, so you're obviously English, but where you grew up and all that sort of stuff. What's your story?
Okay, well, my parents are both Greek Cypriot, so they're from Cyprus. But I grew up in Devon by the sea. So my parents moved there when they got married, and it's kind of nice because it's kind of relaxed atmosphere, and it's a great place to grow up. There's lots of like outdoorsy things to do.
Yeah,
So it was cool because I used to do like road trips to Cornwall with my friends and go surfing and
nice.
do nice things, and it's quite freeing because like now I live in London. It's kind of there's I don't know there's it's a lot more restricted in terms of the kind of outdoor things that you can do, like
Yes, yes.
streets and stuff. So it's nice. So I grew up there, and then I moved to London to study, and then never really went back. But I mean, I go home for sure, like to see my family, but I don't think I could stay there again. It's just too quiet.
I know, I know. That's the thing. Like when I lived in London for however long that was, you feel like, because it is so busy, and every now and then I felt like I just had to get out of the city, like go into Surrey or something just to see green and a little more
Absolutely.
quiet, but then you could go back in.
Mhm.
So what was like when you got into acting, how did that all come about? Was that always a goal, or did it
Yeah.
just sort of happen?
Not really. Like it kind of was a goal of mine since I was quite young. So I remember like my mum I got an agent when I was a child, and then my mum would travel like 5 hours. She'd drive 5 hours to get to London for me to do like a 5 minute audition
Wow.
and then drive me home. So she was like really supportive. And I knew that I really wanted to do it. So I kind of decided as soon as I'd finished school to kind of move to London. And then my parents were kind of really wanting me to kind of do a language degree or a degree which had a bit more safety, I guess,
Yeah.
which was fine. So I did French and Spanish at university, and I got an agent, and I took loads of classes and workshops, and I worked in my spare time on anything and everything I could. I even did extra work for a bit to kind of get used to being on set and
Yeah.
seeing everything works. And then from there, just built up my credits really. And then yeah, and then it just kind of it wasn't something I fell into because I really was actively looking for work and training as well. So I was very proactive with that, along with studying. But yeah, I guess I have been quite lucky with the roles that I've got so far. But yeah, it's kind of, I think the best thing advice I'd give is like it's really good to kind of be in set and be used to seeing how everything runs. So even if you do start off as an extra, it's not a bad thing if you move away from that after, just because it's a good way of kind of getting in with people and meeting, networking and seeing how the set works. And I did a couple student films, which were good quality short films that I could use for footage, and then kind of went from there and auditioned for various bigger roles, and that's kind of how it started, really.
Yeah, cool. I have some friends who live in Los Angeles, and that's what they say too. They're just like doing extra work so they can get the idea of everything and just being exposed to the people and the sets. And so interestingly, yeah, I hear like, it's the same dynamic, I guess, whether you're in New York or London or whatever it may be. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
so before getting into Wonder Woman related stuff, what was your previous sort of fitness like, as far as what you did for either workouts or any sports you played? What did that look like before?
Right. So before Wonder Woman, it was very much like in the gym I would do hitch. So mixture of body weight exercises and sprints really. So I didn't really do many weights. If I did, it would be very low weight. And then I was quite into swimming, so I would do that regularly and running. So a lot of kind of in terms of sports at school, I was never really like the best at sports. Like I was never in the like I was only in the top team for a sport called rounders, but like tennis, so like netball and hockey, I was never that good at.
Yeah.
Like tennis though, and I think what happened was when I left school, I started getting more into the gym and kind of learning about how things work there. I got a PT, and then from there, I kind of really got into fitness modeling, which really sparked my interest in doing more workouts related stuff, conditioning and weight training, which I'd never really touched on before. But it was good because in terms of fitness modeling, you also have to have quite good endurance, just like we did in Wonder Woman, to kind of keep doing take after take.
Right,
And
right.
a 12-hour shoot, you kind of have to be able to push hard and, not tire so quickly. So I just needed to make sure that my fitness was up and that I could keep going when I was like asked to. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. I've been quite lucky in the sense that it's kind of it's grown organically from working as well. So I kind of picked up skills along the way from jobs as well as kind of doing classes. Like I'm really big into doing different fitness classes around London, just trying out different venues and different disciplines because I think it's great to mix up your workouts rather than stick to kind of one sort of regime that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the fitness like promotions and commercial stuff you did? Was it something with, did you do Adidas or?
Yeah. So I did at Adidas, I did Gymshark, I shot for Under Armour and Nike as well. The Adidas shoot was in Tenerife, so we did a running shoot. It was 2 days shooting there by the sea, which was really nice, but it
Wow.
was scorching hot. So it was like, oh, sweating so much. But it was great. We ran, it was like quite a long distance and it was quite fast. And what happened was there was like one of the cameras was mounted on a it's like it looks like the back of a van. I can't remember what the name of it was, and it was like basically shooting towards us, and we had to like run straight towards it and past it. And
Wow.
then they had and then they had a few other cameras like from different angles, but it was great. That was quite a tiring shoot just because of like the constant running. So you always have to fuel up with lots of glucose. Probably not the best thing. Like they would give us, like sugar, but I
Yeah.
think sometimes you just got to do it to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess so getting into the whole Wonder Woman thing, which has been, the biggest movie of the year, pretty much, like critically, commercially, the whole deal. How did that
Yeah.
all come about as far as casting, how you found out about it? What was the whole
Right.
process?
Well, it's an interesting one, this, because someone got in touch with me on Instagram about it, and they were an agency that were kind of seeking athletic women. The brief was very broad. It was kind of athletic women of all races, and it was all ethnicities. They just wanted to see girls that kind of had an athletic or dance background who were quite tall. So the minimum height was 5'8", which is what I am,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then they didn't really mention anything about the job or what it was. And so we just turned up to the studios at Leavesden, Warner Brothers, and we had, there was a group of 20 of us, and they were seeing 20 girls every half day for like, I think for a couple of weeks. So they were casting a lot.
Whoa.
Like they saw, yeah, I think they saw something like 700 girls.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I think what they were really, their brief was they wanted kind of individual looks that kind of worked well as a group, but also women that were able to help each other out. So they wanted to really create this kind of sisterhood of helping with the training, kind of helping push each other, but also in a nice environment where we're supporting each other rather than, kind of competing against each other.
Right.
So the training, so the first round of auditions was like a choreography that we were taught, and then we did it in pairs, and then they shot it. Then we did some like reaction shots to like punches and kicks and stuff, and then we did some fitness in the gym. So they kind of monitored those three disciplines mainly. It was just kind of like martial arts and endurance. Those are the two things they were looking out for. And I know that then the second round, then they picked 40 girls, and then they gave us 2 weeks of boot camp, and then they told us after 2 weeks they'll be cutting 20 people, and then those will be the core Amazonians, the 20 that are chosen. So at the end of that, we had to film us doing like a combo of about 15 moves, us fighting with one of the trainers, Ryan Watson, who kind of led the training for the martial arts side. Yeah, and then we also did. We also had to do like an X Factor round audition, which was a bit crazy. We were like, there was a big black curtain, and there was 40 of us. We lined up, and then one by one we would go in. We'd say our name, our age, height, what our disciplines were, and then we had a minute to impress all the producers, Patty Jenkins, the director. So Patty, the director. There was like 15 people there filming us and watching us, and the trainers. So we just had like a minute to kind of impress them. And then that's it. And then it was down to them to choose who they wanted. So it was quite a grueling process, because they really like hammed out the selection process. It was over about 6 weeks. So it was a lot of waiting and kind of, just kind of pushing on with the training and hoping that they would say yes. And then it just happened. And then it was just 6 months of intense training, basically.
Man, that's such an intense audition process. That's like tougher than a professional sports tryout for over that. And then that X Factor thing, I mean, that's insane. So full minute, without Simon Cowell having to yell at you, that seems holy smoke. When you're set and you're cast as one of the Amazonian warriors, so what was the approach to the fitness and the training, and how did they start you off with everything?
Right. The first thing they did was they kind of like gave us a pep talk about what they're expecting to achieve and what they really wanted, because the guys that were running the fitness side were Jim Jones. So it's like Mark Twight. Yeah. And then there were two other trainers like Peter Vodden, and then another guy called Mario that came in later. But what they really wanted to do was kind of see where we're at with our diet, with our body composition, and then decide how much weight we needed to gain, how much muscle we needed to gain, how much fat we needed to lose. So it was very like quite systematic and scientifically kind of ruled out from the beginning. And they were definitely interested in seeing our lifestyle individually and seeing how they could help, change it up to improve our fitness, but also aesthetically how we looked. Because at the end of the day, even though our fitness had to be up for the amount of takes we were doing, it was a lot about making sure that we all looked strong and fit. Right. So, so we were given like diet plans, and we were doing because of the amount of hours of training. So we did 3 hours of martial arts and weapon training, and then an hour and a half in the gym every day. So that was Monday to Friday. So then we had 2 days, which was it's like not rest days, like rehab days. So you
like
still
active recovery.
Exactly. Yeah. You still train. You do stuff like we did 100 Turkish get-ups with 9 kilo dumbbells, and we did ski erg for 20 minutes, rowing for 20 minutes, cycling for 20 minutes, just like an easy pace, but still kind of working
Right,
hard.
right.
So those were like the recovery days, and then we would be told to have ice baths and massages if our bodies, because they really were pushing us hard and we were lifting heavy. When we were bulking, it was very much a lot of we had a lot of pain and muscle soreness, so it was really important that we were like on top of resting as well. They
Yeah,
really kind of did highlight that it was important to make sure that we were resting in the time that we had off for the rest of the day, rather than working out, like overworking ourselves in
right.
other ways.
Where was your training based out of? Was it
So they
for the 6 months? Was it in the same locations, or did you move around?
so they basically built a hangar. They built a gym for us in Warner Brothers Studios in Leavesden, and that was for us and the actors as well. So you had Jason Momoa, Gal would train there. Also, some of the guys from Justice League, so Henry Cavill as
Oh
well.
wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of because they had shot because it's DC, so they shot so they were working on Justice League around the same time and
Yeah.
a bit after, so they had all the actors in for that as well, and they were being trained. So we all kind of trained in the same gym, and it was really cool. It was one of those kind of really basic gyms that had all the equipment you can need. It's very similar to a CrossFit style gym. You kind of
Yeah.
just have the weights and everything. And then they actually built a bar for Jason Momoa because he loves Guinness. So like
Awesome.
we had a gym with a bar in it, but yeah, we never drank. Uh, yeah, we weren't allowed Guinness, but we had a lot of snacks on board, so that was kind of nice. Like every hour we'd refuel, would have like nuts, Greek yogurt, beef jerky, blueberries, as much as snacks as we wanted, but kind of high protein, high
Yeah.
fat snacks. So they were very like at the beginning of the bulking phase, it was quite nice. I was kind of eating everything I wanted. I was loving it, and
Love it.
then yeah, and then it kind of when we started doing the shredding phase 2 months before, well, 6 weeks before filming, that was tough because we had to drop our calories by 500
Yeah.
and really cut back on the carbs depending on how much fat we needed to burn. But it was like they tried to say stay below 100 grams of carbs a day, which
Wow.
when you're hit is quite hard because you burn so much that
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. Did they basically have customized nutrition for each girl? Then like you said, depending on,
that
what you were like going into it and everything?
yeah, sort of. What they did is they had a booklet that they gave us, and it was like diet. So what you could eat for breakfast, what you could eat lunch, and what you could eat for dinner. The types of foods you could eat, and the types of calories each meal would be. And they kind of said use that as a guide. So they weren't completely rigid with what we had to eat, what we
Gotcha.
actually ate. But what they did say is like every week we had body transformation pictures, so they could see the difference. And if we weren't improving, then we would, they would say, look, you need to really cut back on. Let's see where you're going wrong. Because the training was so intense that they needed to see, okay, why are they not losing weight as quickly
Gotcha.
as
Yeah.
else? So it was kind of it was interesting in that way. I mean, I found that sometimes I was really, really hungry, especially in the bulking phase. It was lovely. I was eating really well. But when we were shredding, I was actually going to bed really quite hungry.
Right.
That's the whole point of it, is actually that you're not overly hungry, but you know that you feel a bit empty. So then that's when your body starts using up the fat. So it's one of those things that you just have to really push through. And they did help us out with tips with that, and kind of eating. You can snack in the evening, but just always have like good snacks available for when you kind of wanted to.
Right.
If you felt like you wanted to eat during the night, that's fine. Just kind of have protein shakes, things that aren't too caloric. Yeah, so for me, especially because I ate quite a lot of fat, but I also ate quite a lot of carbs. So they definitely said that I could cut back on the carbs a bit, because when we tracked everything on MyFitnessPal,
Yeah.
so they could see on the pie chart how much fat, like carbs and protein we were consuming.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's great for learning how your body can change and how much diet really does impact
Yeah.
everything. 'Cause you train hard, but if you're not keeping your diet in check, it's just like it goes, it falls on deaf ears sometimes because your body's just not able to recover as quickly if you're not eating well. And
Yeah, absolutely.
mm,
During the 6 months, what would an average day of nutrition look like for you specifically? Like how many times a day were you eating, and what were your what were your carb sources and things like that? Just like on an average day, roughly.
on an average day, like I really ate quite well, but it was just quite clean. So it would be, wake up, have a couple of poached eggs, rye bread, and spinach, and then I would go to the gym. Then we would train a bit. Then we would have a protein shake. We would have some nuts, almonds, cashews, um, blueberries, Greek yogurt. Then we would train some more. Then we would have lunch, and lunch would be like quinoa, chicken, broccoli with olive oil, and kind of seasoned. And then again, I'd probably have like a protein bar for a snack, or if I really wanted to snack on something else, I could have beef jerky. And then for dinner, again, we'd have like fish or chicken, kind of lean meat.
Yeah.
And then brown rice, absolutely fine. Quinoa, sweet potato, no problem. And then veggies, great, as much veggies as you like. So it was kind of that we could eat fruit as well, but just kind of limit it to 2 to 3 portions a day. So not excessively eating sugar because it
Yeah.
was, I think the whole thing was trying to make that shift, especially because I have a really sweet tooth that I really struggled with kind of weaning off sugar, but
Oh no.
actually I feel so much more energized after. So
Yeah.
it did really work well in the end, but it took some time to kind of not have chocolates all the time with sweets. And when I go to the cinema, I can't just, if we went out, we could drink only like vodka and soda.
Yeah.
They want to just be careful because you're training hard. If you're going to be going out, don't be silly, don't overdo it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's a job, so you don't want to, you don't want to like take the mick too much.
Yeah. You got the sweet tooth, and you live in the land of the good Cadbury's chocolate everywhere you look
I
in
know.
England. Jeez. So over the 6 months with the training, what were like workouts and exercises and stuff you adapted well to, and what did you find kind of the most challenging in that whole process?
Um, I really enjoyed like the every minute of on the minute sort of workouts. What we had like kettlebell swings, burpees, pull ups with the band. We would do like dumbbell thrusters, things like that. So it was kind of like the high intensity stuff that was weighted. I really enjoyed it because I got quite competitive. I think we all did because we really wanted to challenge each other and help each other.
Yeah.
There were also times where we had to do relay races. So, for example, we had to do 5,000 meter rows, followed by 5,000 on the ski erg, followed by another 5,000 on the air fit,
Wow.
and it would be our thing, and it would just be like complete it, and there'll be five of us, and we just rotate, 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 and so we'd have to come up with our own sort of strategy as to how many meters we could row before tiring, so then we can maximize the time. So it was quite interesting. That was kind of fun as well because we worked in teams and we kind of pushed each other, and it was a lot of like really kind of having each other's back and really motivating each other, which was so nice. So we had like a bunch of really good friends by the end of the job because we became so close.
That's
Um,
awesome. I
that,
love the I saw you like you'd put up clips of YouTube videos and like of the training and all the girls in it. It did seem like a super supportive, encouraging environment you guys all created, which was looked amazing.
it was good. I think the trainers really wanted to like initiate that from the start, that was going to be the sort of environment they wanted to create. And definitely Patty as well was saying, not only do we want beautiful, strong women, we want women that are supportive and kind of like pick each other up. And that's what we need to show on screen. And to only show that on screen, they had to make it authentic in real life. So that's what they did. And it was great. I think like there was that element of competitiveness
Yeah,
between
of
teams,
course.
but it was great. It was healthy, and then the martial arts stuff was great too because did a lot of drills. I think for me personally, I struggled a bit with learning, picking up some of the choreography because I'm not a dancer, and I think some of the dancers were just great with flexibility and picking up the choreo very
Yeah,
fast, whereas it
yeah,
took
yeah.
me. So that was something I struggled with, but I really enjoyed doing it because it looked really cool when you mastered like a sequence. So that was really fun. And even like spear fighting, I mean, spears quite heavy because obviously they're made of wood and they've got like the metal edges. So they were quite heavy and long. So it was about kind of being able to use those in different ways. And a lot of that you need quite good arm strength for
Yeah.
that, quite long and rigid. So all the weight stuff that we were doing, I mean, I never lifted heavy until I did that job. It was crazy the amount of weight we packed on. Like for example, when we just as a warm up, we would do like a lot of isolating exercises with like the band, just to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
isolate glutes, for example. Or we would, if we were doing arms, we would do like 1 minute, 1 minute of plank with 15 kilograms on our backs,
Wow.
and then switch 3 times. So we'd switch between our pairs. So it was quite militant in some ways, but it worked well because I think that's how they got the best of us, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Mm.
with the actual filming schedule, like what did those days look like, and how long was your part of the filming process?
Well, we were kind of called to set for about 5:45, 5:30. Then
Ouch.
it would be 2 hours, yeah, and then it would be 2 hours of makeup and hair, costume also, because costume was quite hard to get on and off because there were so many different parts to it. Um, and then and then we would shoot on the beach. At the beginning, we shot on the beach for the battle scene.
Yeah.
That was like 2.5 weeks of rehearsals and filming, and that was kind of long days, 12, 13 hour days of kind of fighting or reacting depending on what they wanted, sometimes with the horses as well, like running in with the horses, doing some fight fight bits with the German soldiers. And then when we did then we shot at Villa Cambroni, which was this training scene where she's quite young, when Diana's very young and she
Yeah.
sees the girls training in the garden. So that was like 3 days of us kind of showing off different skills that we had, and we basically picked a weapon of choice, and we just kind of had created these choreography numbers for each group, sort of thing, for filming there. So those were again long days. So the most days were about 12 to 13 hour days depending on where we were, but yeah, quite long, and like
Wow.
doing
Yeah.
things I have to take, it's quite tiring. But we had loads of coffee, which was great. Italian coffee because we were
Yeah.
in Italy. So they fed us up really well. We actually ate separately to the crew. We had like a separate room with all protein. So they tried to like make us stick to the diet when we were away. So it was good. I mean, we still managed to sneak in like some desserts and everything,
Of
but
course.
majority was pretty clean eating,
Yeah.
but great food, like lovely Italian food. So
What was Gal Gadot like? Did you have a lot of interaction with her, or was it, everyone had to
yeah.
do their own thing?
Well, everyone was sort of doing their own thing, but she was super friendly. Whenever we were on set with her, she'd come and chat to us and say hello. And she was always like with her husband, and her daughter was there. So she's like very family orientated. And she really did kind of, when she was on set, she did stay quite focused and was just kind of getting the job done, talking to Patty about what they wanted. But very friendly, and it was a very like upbeat sort of vibe on set. Everyone was enjoying themselves and happy to be there. So it was quite a nice. It wasn't like a long drawn out shoot day. It was kind of fun to be on. So her and Chris were like super friendly. Like Chris, Chris had this Greek salad that his chef had made him, and he let me eat his salad. So that was kind of nice. And
Nice, nice.
like, Yeah, so yeah, they were super open and chatty. But again, obviously when it came down to like a lot of the close-up stuff, it was kind of them doing their thing and then us just kind of filling in basically in the back. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, what was Patty Jenkins like to work with?
Patty is so nice. She was very um like appreciative and praising of what was happening and what we were doing and everything. And she was very much like all about bringing us up, bringing our morale up. So she was like always commenting like, "Great job, guys! That's awesome! You look fantastic! Thank you!" and all of this.
Nice.
And she would just be like shouting to Gal, like, "Gal, can you do this?" And in a nice way from her like director's chair. But it was yeah, very comical in a way, but
Cool, cool.
very approachable.
Nice. So what was it like seeing, the final product up on the screen? Like I saw I think it was in the States, so I saw Wonder Woman on like giant IMAX and like, there's good shots of you a lot, you specifically like in it. And it's so cool to see you in it. What was it like to actually watch the final thing?
It was pretty incredible because what happened was they had to cancel the premiere here, so we went to a screening because there was Manchester bombings,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we screening for like cast and crew, and it was really fun because we got to watch it all together and just like that opening credits where she's saying, "I used to want to rule the world," and then it goes straight into the land of the Amazonians. It really just kind of sent shivers
Nice.
because everyone was super excited to see it. And obviously, none of us had seen any of the rushes, so we had no idea what it would look like. But we were really impressed because, I mean, the way they shot it and just the way it looked, the island just looked really beautiful, and everyone was really shown in their best light, which was so nice to see. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was super exciting, and we all watched it together, which was cool too, just to like watch it with everyone that made the movie. It was so
Love it.
great.
That's awesome.
Mm.
So since like so I guess post Wonder Woman, you like for you personally, what's your fitness been like since that? Like what have you kind of kept from there or what does it look like for you at the moment?
I think since that, the one thing that I've really kept is that your mind, your mind is stronger than you think. So you really can push harder than you physically. Well, you can physically push harder than you think you can. So
Yeah.
you really need to kind of in every workout that I do now, I kind of apply that same morale. That because we had the trainers there, egging us on, like just telling us, push through, push through. What when I had that, when we learned that that was possible to really push through these boundaries and seeing the difference, that's the kind of intensity of training that I've tried to maintain. So I find it hard to actually motivate myself to go do like to work out on my own. I find it so much better working out with other people. So I have a training partner who Zoe, and she was one of the Amazonians. So I met her on the
Nice.
job. Yeah, and she's actually a personal trainer also. So we kind of train together.
Perfect.
And it's been great because we really like push each other and motivate each other to go. But when I think that that's the one thing that I really did learn is that you can really push harder. Can you sprint slightly longer, or can you lift slightly heavier? Just things like that, or can you do three more reps? Those types of things really do change your can actually have more of an impact on your body because that's when the change occurs when you're really pushing hard. But
Yeah.
also to remember that sleep is really important and that you have to um, kind of vary up your workout so it's not always the same each time.
Yeah, I just did 3 straight podcasts on different sleep related issues, which will be up in a while. So
Oh,
it's probably one of the biggest thing as like a trainer myself and everything, and it's probably the biggest thing I push on people. And I think people are like, and now like you understanding that idea of recovery and rest, and if you want to get results and succeed, where it starts with with your
yeah,
rest. So
yeah.
what is your so like right now as well? Like, what's your diet looking like at the moment? Again, like if you kind of carried over some of the same stuff, or what do you are you flexible with different things? What's like kind of the average looking like?
I'm quite flexible, but I try to eat a lot cleaner than I used to. For example, I used to be really addicted to sugar, like eat lots and lots of chocolate.
Yeah.
Now I I'm much more aware of how it affects my body in terms of like my energy levels, because sugar really is one of those things that it is a drug in a way, because it's such a stimulant, but then you get the low after.
Yeah.
So I knew that my energy levels just were never as good when I was eating lots of sugar. So that's one thing that I try to like cut out or just kind of limit. And also, I try to keep the protein up because I do enjoy eating fish and meat. Not as much meat, but I do eat meat. And just kind of having plant-based protein also. So I just try to do that and try to eat sensibly, because actually, if you skip, if because I often used to kind of snack a lot. But then I'd skip a meal, and that wasn't good either because I'd be super hungry. So then I'd snack on bad food. So actually, I just make sure that I eat three consistent meals that are quite like hearty. So I eat quite big portions, but if because it's healthy, it's okay. And then that just kind of keeps me going,
Yeah.
because when I'm on the go quite a lot with castings or auditions or just training, so you kind of need to have stuff that doesn't make your insulin spike.
Yeah.
So just kind of like wholesome food, really.
Yeah. So you also did, if you talk a little, you did another movie called Knights of the Damned,
Yeah,
and are you, that seemed kind of a similar approach, or what was that
yeah.
like?
So that was I did Knights of the Damned, which was again like a fantasy film, and I was like head of a female tribe, as like female warrior tribe, called. So yeah, so that was a group of us. There was four of us, and we were called the Katori tribe. And again, I did a lot of archery in that film and a lot of and some fight sequences. So it was similar in terms of just picking up choreography from the stunt and working with the stunt coordinators to work it out and rehearse it before the shoot. But I think with that one, because I had had the training from Wonder Woman, I kind of knew what to expect,
Right, right.
and also like kept up with the fitness myself. So that was useful, because I think these are skills that you kind of are ingrained in you, and they're just really invaluable to apply to any job, really.
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you, are you involved and can you talk about Justice League stuff at all? Or is that off limits?
I don't know if I can say anything about the
That,
story.
no, no, that's fine. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I just, as far
Yeah.
as, being involved in that as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, with Justice League, we shot that. So after Wonder Woman, we shot Wonder Woman in Italy. When we came back, and London, but when we came back, I did 3 more months of training for Justice League, and it was a very similar thing where it was Amazonian warrior training. This time they focused a lot more on acting. Actually, we're
Right.
reacting and being the character and inhabiting the Amazonian, and what is an Amazonian to you, and how do you feel fear, or how do you feel strength, and
Oh,
what.
interesting.
So yeah, it was a lot more of the acting side, but actually when we went to set, it was again like we were fighting these monsters, and it was really fun, and the intensity was there again. So again, it was like long days, but again a lot of fun and hard days, but great group of people and great crew as well.
Yeah. I mean, for people listening, depending on when you're listening to this is what's today, October the 11th. So the trailer for Justice League came out like a few days ago. So everyone's going nuts and I think that's kind of like off the springboard of Wonder Woman. So the hype going into that will be even bigger. So just interested to hear. So
Uh-huh.
I'll start winding down here. So,
Okay.
where can people follow you or see what you're doing, social media, all that good stuff?
Yeah, okay. So my Instagram is Andrea Vasiliou, which is my full name, which is spelled Andrea and then Vasiliou. So I kind of post what I'm up to and my stories, behind the scenes stuff. little videos and snippets of films that I'm doing, and also training workouts as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Vasiliou, Andie Vasiliou. And also have a website that you can check out, like new blog posts. I kind of blog about fitness and health, and also about jobs that I'm doing, so different shoots, and that's andrea-vasiliou.com.
Cool. I'll link these things up on the show notes for this episode so people can check
Awesome.
it out. So I'll finish with a quick little rapid fire I do, if you're all right to go with this. Okay,
Let's do
so
it.
favorite movie.
Favorite movie?
It's probably a tough one
Oh,
to
wow,
ask an
there's so
actress.
much. Oh yeah, I know. There's so many. It's a tough one. I really like Nolan's films.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Oh,
ooh,
sorry. Tell everyone that you're Batman's girlfriend.
oh,
I forgot to mention that.
oh God, the little cameo.
Yeah.
So basically, I worked. That's a funny one actually, because Nolan chose me to be Anne Hathaway when she's younger on a dream scene, but then actually, well, that Michael Caine has. So I'm meant to be playing like Batman's girlfriend, and that shoot, my mum traveled like six. She drove me 5 hours in the night so I could get to set on time to be in that shoot. But yeah, so that was in The Dark Knight Rises, and that was really cool. So because I got to work with Michael Caine, directed by Christopher Nolan, and also yeah, I met Anne Hathaway and Christian Bale also.
I remember watching that in the theater, and it's like, okay, that's not Anne Hathaway, but I swear I know that girl. And then realizing after it was you. So
Oh
okay,
no.
sorry. So Batman's girlfriend.
Yeah, so Inception, I'd say.
Oh, good one. Yeah. Favorite music or artist?
Ooh, I really like The Weeknd.
That's a local boy. He lives right near where I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Favorite country.
Favorite country? Wow. I really like Bali.
Nice, nice.
So nice. Yep.
Favorite food to eat.
Seafood. I love seafood. So like seafood spaghetti or grilled seafood. Anything with seafood is great.
Nice. Okay. Last one. Favorite TV show.
TV show. Wow. I've got to say it's a bit of a cliche, but I am a really big fan of Game of
Of
Thrones.
course. Perfect. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks so much for doing this, Andrea.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Amazing stuff. I want to thank Andrea again for coming on and really appreciate her sharing her journey, not just through the whole Wonder Woman DC Justice League thing, but her approach to health and fitness and wellness and what it really does take to be as healthy as possible and as fit as possible, and the requirement and the discipline and the mindset you need, and that it is a day-to-day thing and staying on top of it. And hopefully there's things and lessons you can take from this episode and apply to your own life. And so it's just really cool to hear her share all her insights and her journey and everything like that. And if you want to, again, like if you want to see links of where to follow her and some of those, the training videos I was talking about, you can go to regainedwellness.com/131. And that's everything linked up in one convenient location. I'll finish off here. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. If you really like it, leave a rating and review. That makes my mom more proud of me. And then it gets more people exposed to the show and can share more interesting stories and more health and wellness insights that can hopefully impact and improve your own health and wellness. So that's it for me. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye.